The moment the judge read the verdict, my ex-husband's face turned pale, because the house he secretly stole from me had just legally become mine again, along with every dollar he tried to hide. My name is Emily Carter, and 3 years ago I believed I had the perfect life. We lived in Austin, Texas, in a quiet neighborhood where everyone waved when you drove past. The kind of place where the sunsets looked like paintings and kids rode their bikes until the streetlights came on. My husband, Daniel, was a real estate agent. I worked remotely as a graphic designer. We had been married for 9 years. 9 years of shared bank accounts, family holidays, and late-night conversations about the future. Or at least, that's what I thought we had. Daniel was charming, confident, the kind of man people trusted immediately. But charm can hide a lot. At first, the changes were small. He started coming home later. More client dinners. More last-minute showings. His phone suddenly had a passcode. And every time I asked about it, he'd laugh and kiss my forehead. "Emily, you're overthinking again." Maybe I was. But something inside me felt wrong. Then the first rail crack appeared. One afternoon, I checked our bank account to pay the electricity bill. The balance was $28,000 lower than it should have been. My stomach dropped. When I asked Daniel about it that night, he barely looked up from his phone. "Investment opportunity," he said casually. "Real estate flip. Quick profit." Except there was one problem. Daniel and I had always agreed on one rule in our marriage. No major financial decisions without telling the other. But apparently, that rule only applied to me. Over the next 2 months, the withdrawals kept happening. $5,000, $12,000, $9,500. Each time he had another explanation, another deal, another promise that we'd double the money. Then one night, everything shattered. I was working late in the living room when Daniel's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A message lit up the screen. And even though I tried to ignore it, I saw the name, Jessica Redhart. The preview read, "I can't wait until your wife finally signs the papers." My chest tightened. What papers? I opened the message thread. And in that moment, my entire marriage collapsed. Jessica wasn't just a random woman. She was Daniel's business partner. And according to their messages, they had been dating for almost a year. But the worst part wasn't the affair. It was the plan. Daniel had convinced me months earlier to sign paperwork for what he called a tax restructuring. Documents I trusted him with. Documents I didn't question. Those papers had quietly transferred the ownership of our house into his name only. Our house. The house my parents helped us put the down payment on. The house I thought we owned together. And now, legally, I had nothing. I remember sitting on the kitchen floor that night, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. 9 years of marriage. Gone. For 3 days I barely slept. I replayed everything in my head. Every conversation. Every lie. Every moment I trusted him. Part of me wanted to confront him immediately. To scream. To demand answers. But something stopped me. If Daniel had been planning this for a year, then I needed to be smarter. So instead of confronting him, I called a lawyer. Her name was Linda Chavez. And after reviewing the documents Daniel tricked me into signing, she leaned back in her chair and said something that changed everything. "Emily," she said calmly, "your husband thinks he outsmarted you." My stomach tightened. But legally, he made one massive mistake. You see, Daniel had transferred the house title without disclosing marital asset restructuring properly, which meant the paperwork could be challenged. And more importantly, the money he withdrew from our joint account, that counted as financial misconduct in a divorce. But Linda had an even better idea. "Let him think he's winning," she told me. So I did. For 2 months, I played the role of the clueless wife. Daniel grew more distant, more confident. Sometimes he didn't even come home. And one night, he finally said the words he'd clearly been rehearsing. "Emily, I think we should get a divorce." I nodded slowly, pretending my heart wasn't breaking. "Okay." The relief on his face was almost cruel. He thought he had already won. 3 months later, we were sitting in a courtroom in Travis County, Texas. Daniel walked in confidently. Jessica was sitting behind him in the audience, smiling, like they had already built their future on the ruins of my life. Daniel's lawyer presented their argument first. According to the documents, the house belonged entirely to Daniel. The withdrawn money was his investment. And I had no claim. Daniel even glanced back at Jessica and smirked. That was the moment, the thumbnail moment of my story, because my lawyer stood up and calmly placed a new folder in front of the judge. Inside it were bank records, message screenshots, and property law violations. Linda explained everything. The hidden affair, the financial manipulation, the illegal transfer. The courtroom grew quiet. Daniel's confidence disappeared. Jessica's smile vanished. Then the judge spoke. "Mr. Carter," he said firmly, "this court finds clear evidence of financial deception." Daniel's face went white. Therefore, the judge paused. "The marital home is to be returned to joint ownership, and due to misconduct, full ownership will be awarded to Mrs. Carter." Gasps filled the room. But the judge wasn't finished. Daniel was also ordered to repay every dollar he withdrew, with penalties. Jessica quietly walked out of the courtroom. And Daniel couldn't even look at me. 6 months later, I stood in the living room of that same house in Austin. Sunlight poured through the windows. The same windows I once cried beside. But everything felt different now. Peaceful. Free. Daniel had been forced to sell his car to pay the court order. His real estate reputation collapsed after the case became public record. Jessica disappeared from his life almost immediately. Apparently, she wasn't interested in a man with legal debt and a ruined career. As for me, I renovated the house, repainted the walls, turned Daniel's old office into my design studio. And every morning when I drink coffee by the window, I remember something important. Betrayal doesn't always destroy you. Sometimes, it reveals how strong you really are. Daniel thought he was stealing my future. But in the end, he only built the evidence that gave it back to me.
Before you go, I just want to say thank you for spending your time with this story and being part of this journey. If this video moved you, taught you something, or made you feel less alone, please like the video and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Revenge Uncut. We're working hard to reach our first 1,000 subscribers, and your support truly means everything to us. Every single subscription helps this channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you real, emotional, and powerful stories like this one. Most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell us what you felt, what stood out to you, or what this story meant to you. We genuinely read every single comment, and your words inspire us more than you know. Thank you for being here, thank you for your support, and thank you for being part of the Revenge Uncut family.